Have you ever found yourself deep into a true crime documentary, late at night, the house quiet, and the screen glowing, and wondered, why am I so captivated by this? Why am I a good, empathetic person, so completely drawn to the worst moments of other people's lives? If you have, you're not alone. In fact, you're part of a massive phenomenon. A 2024 YouGov poll found that 57% of Americans consume true crime content. Other research from the same year suggests that number could be as high as 84% if you count anyone who has ever tuned in to the genre. This isn't just a passing trend or a guilty pleasure. It's a deep-seated fascination, and it's tapping into some of the most fundamental parts of our psychology. So what are the hidden forces that make these stories so irresistible? It's rarely about a love for the macabre. It's about survival. It's about justice. And it's about understanding the world and our place in it. Today we're going to explore the 5 key psychological drivers that explain why we just can't look away. The first, and maybe the most powerful reason, is rooted in our most basic instinct: the will to survive. Our brains are hardwired to be alert to danger. For thousands of years, our ancestors gathered around campfires, not just for warmth, but to share stories of the dangers that lurked in the dark. The saber-toothed tiger, the rival tribe. These weren't just stories. They were survival guides. Today, the campfire has been replaced by the glow of a Netflix documentary. But the principle is the same. When we consume true crime, we're engaging in what psychologists call threat rehearsal. We're running a simulation, learning from a safe distance about the predators that exist in our modern world. We want to understand the what-ifs of our anxieties without facing any real risk. This is especially potent for women, who are not only more likely to consume true crime, but often do so with a specific purpose. One survey found women are 2.5 times more likely than men to consume true crime to prepare for unsafe situations. Studies show women are particularly drawn to stories where they can learn about red flags, methods of escape, or the subtle warning signs that preceded a tragedy. They often see themselves in the victims, reinforcing the feeling of, "There but for the grace of God go I." This isn't morbid curiosity for its own sake. It's a subconscious and sometimes very conscious effort to gather intelligence for our own safety. We're not just watching a story, we're taking notes. This also explains the strange thrill we can feel. It's a phenomenon called benign masochism, the enjoyment of a negative feeling in a completely controlled environment. We get the adrenaline rush and engage our fight-or-flight response, but from the safety of our living room. We get to face the monster, and then turn off the TV. But our fascination goes beyond just primal fear. It's not enough to know that a threat exists. We have a deep need to know why. At our core, humans are problem solvers. We're driven to find patterns and make sense of the senseless. And there is nothing more senseless, more disruptive to our idea of a safe and orderly world than a terrible crime. It violates our social contract, representing a tear in the fabric of society, and we feel a deep, intellectual compulsion to understand how and why that tear happened. This is the puzzle-solving aspect of true crime. In fact, a 2024 YouGov poll found that 54% of Americans say an interest in mysteries is a key reason why people engage with the genre. We want to look into the abyss of human nature, from a safe distance, to understand what makes a person deviate so drastically from the norm. We ask ourselves what could possibly drive someone to do this. Is it nature or nurture? A single moment, or a long, slow descent into darkness? This drive is less about the gory details and more about the psychological autopsy. It allows us to become armchair detectives and amateur psychologists, piecing together clues about motive and behavior. By understanding the why, we attempt to restore a sense of order to a chaotic event. There's this optimistic belief that if we can understand the path that leads to such darkness, maybe we can better reinforce the path that leads to the light. And when we feel like we finally understand the puzzle, what are we hoping to see at the end? The answer, for many of us, is a deep and profoundly satisfying sense of justice. At its core, a true crime narrative is a modern morality play. It presents a clear struggle between good and evil, chaos and order. After exploring the darkness, we have a powerful psychological need to see the scales balanced. This desire for resolution is a huge driver of the genre's popularity. Life is often messy and unfair, but a well-told true crime story offers something life often doesn't: a clear narrative arc with a definitive end, crime, investigation, and hopefully, conviction. This provides a powerful sense of catharsis, an emotional release that comes from seeing justice prevail. For a moment, the world feels a little less chaotic. Our fascination also extends to the mechanics of the justice system. We're captivated by the forensic science, the courtroom drama, and the work of investigators. Shows that meticulously detail the investigation, from the first officer to the final verdict, are so compelling because they pull back the curtain on a world most of us will never experience. And this has real-world consequences. The true crime boom has been credited with exposing flaws in the system, shedding light on wrongful convictions, and even helping to solve cold cases. When a podcast like Serial, or a documentary like Making a Murderer, captures the public imagination, it can generate new leads and create immense public pressure for accountability. We watch with the hope that our collective attention can be a force for good, but our connection to these stories often goes much deeper than an abstract desire for justice. Why do these cases sometimes feel so personal? While it may seem paradoxical, our fascination with stories of violence is often fueled by one of our most humane traits: empathy. Research has consistently shown that a primary driver for our engagement with true crime is a powerful sense of empathy and connection with the victims. We don't just see a statistic, we see a person whose life was unjustly cut short. We see their families, their hopes, their abandoned futures. This is particularly true for female viewers, who often report a strong identification with female victims, seeing reflections of their own lives and vulnerabilities. This empathetic connection makes the story move from being a simple puzzle to solve into a human tragedy we feel invested in. For some, this connection is even more personal. Viewers who have experienced their own traumas may find a strange sense of healing in true crime. Seeing other victims receive justice can help them feel less alone and can be a source of empowerment. In fact, a 2024 survey found that among crime victims, 1 in 3 said that consuming true crime content helped them react better to their own incidents. This empathetic response makes us feel more than just sad. It makes us feel more vigilant. It makes us check in on our friends and become more aware of our surroundings. It transforms a passive viewing experience into an active emotional engagement that reinforces our own humanity and strengthens our communities. And that sense of community is powerful. We're all here, trying to understand this complex world together. If you're finding this exploration of our shared psychology interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support makes these kinds of analyses possible. Finally, you can't talk about the true crime boom without talking about the revolution in how we consume it. Our psychological drivers may be ancient, but the ways we satisfy them are brand new, and they have turned us from passive viewers into active participants. It arguably started in 2014 with the podcast Serial, which didn't just tell a story, it invited millions of listeners to investigate alongside the host. It created a global community of armchair detectives, all poring over the same evidence and debating theories. Streaming platforms then supercharged this phenomenon, dropping entire docu-series at once, and creating worldwide cultural moments around cases new and old. Now, interactivity is at the heart of the experience. We are no longer just an audience. We are a community. We form Facebook groups, follow subreddit threads, and share TikToks breaking down case details. Research shows that true crime podcast listeners are significantly more likely to provide tips to law enforcement, sign petitions, and donate money to victims' families than other consumers of the genre. This sense of participation gives us a feeling of agency. We aren't just helplessly watching a tragedy unfold. We feel like we can be part of the solution. This shift has profound implications. On one hand, collective public scrutiny can be a powerful tool for justice. On the other, it has created a minefield of ethical questions, with millions of us now not just watching, but actively investigating online. Where is the line? This brings us to the uncomfortable question that sits at the heart of our obsession. Where is the line between healthy curiosity and the morbid exploitation of real human tragedy? There's no easy answer. The first and most critical concern is for the victims and their families. While some families find solace in the renewed attention, many others experience the re-airing of their worst trauma as a form of public entertainment, often without their consent. This can be profoundly re-traumatizing. Then there is the impact on us. While it can make us feel more prepared, overconsumption of true crime has been linked to very real negative effects. Constant exposure to the worst of humanity can lead to heightened anxiety, paranoia, disturbed sleep, and a distorted view of the world that makes us believe danger lurks around every corner. Even when crime rates are statistically low, we can become desensitized to violence, or so hypervigilant that it harms our mental health. The trial by media phenomenon can also have a dangerous impact on the justice system. Armchair detectives, with the best of intentions, can spread misinformation, wrongfully accuse innocent people, and create a court of public opinion that makes a fair trial incredibly difficult. The need for a compelling narrative can overshadow the messy, complicated truth. It's a difficult balance to strike. As creators and consumers, there's a growing call for more ethical, victim-centered storytelling that prioritizes accuracy over sensationalism. So when you add it all up, why are we obsessed with true crime? The answer is as complex as human nature itself. We're running survival simulations from our couches. We're piecing together the puzzle of human darkness. We're seeking justice, finding catharsis when order is restored from chaos. We're exercising our empathy, connecting with victims on a deeply human level. And in our modern world, we're empowered to join a community of fellow detectives seeking answers. This fascination is not a flaw. It's a reflection of our most fundamental instincts, but it comes with a profound responsibility to the real people whose tragedies have become our content, and to ourselves to consume these stories with awareness. So the next time you press play on that new documentary, take a moment and ask yourself, what am I really seeking in this story? Am I looking for a thrill, for understanding, for justice, or for connection? The answer might tell you a lot about the world, and even more about yourself. Let me know in the comments what you think. What's the one true crime case that has stuck with you the most? And why? Thanks for watching.